local news leader. This is 6 News.
I'd like to introduce the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
President Obama visits mid-Michigan for the first time since 2008 and signs a massive farm bill today. And that is our top story. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I'm Jane Aldrich. Well, we have 6 News teams looking at all aspects of the president's visit today, including reaction from the crowd in East Lansing where that speech took place and what kind of impact the farm bill will have here in Michigan. And we start with Greg Adeline in the News Center. And Greg, you were one of the people in attendance at that speech today. What are some of your takeaway impressions?
Well, good evening, Jane. The president seemed relaxed, comfortable, and frankly, generally happy to be at MSU to sign the farm bill. The McPhail Center proving to be an appropriate backdrop for the signing of this bill. Several hundred guests and members of the media listened to the president tout his achievements and explain why this bill passed with bipartisan support through both houses of Congress. Now, the farm bill carries a heavy price tag, over $950 billion, but the president explained its impact is far-reaching, bolstering rural communities and continuing investments in the food stamp program.
Investing in the communities that grow our food, helping hardworking Americans put that food on the table. That's what this farm bill does, all while reducing our deficits through smart reforms.
Now, some of those reforms come in the way that farmers receive federal dollars, eliminating certain subsidies, replacing them with crop insurance, which farmers can use in the event of price changes and natural disasters. The bill cuts the deficit by $23 billion, and some of that money comes out of the food stamp program. Still, the president reiterated today he's committed to struggling families.
That's why for more than half a century, this country has helped Americans put food on the table when they hit a rough patch, or when they're working hard but aren't making enough money to feed their kids. They're not looking for a handout, these folks. They're looking for a hand up, a bridge to help get them through some tough times.
Now, several protesters from Americans for Prosperity, a conservative group, stationed themselves outside the McPhail Center to protest what they feel is wasteful government spending. Inside, though, a much different story. The place was certainly electric. The president's remarks were well received. Jane?
Yeah. All right, thanks, Greg. We'll grow it here, build it here, make it here. Those are the words used today by both agricultural leaders and Senator Debbie Stabenow. The U.S. Senator chairs the Senate Agriculture Committee, and she has worked hard to get that farm bill passed. So what does it mean for people in Michigan? Well, many of the state's specialty crops will be protected under the enhanced crop insurance program, and farmers could see a boost in the amount of renewable material grown, which will then help the state produce more products and more goods. Ag leaders say the state could even see a boom in the amount of farming and research opportunities in the next couple of years.
We're going to see increased research activities. Those tend to be a little more longer term, but that'll enhance production capacity, looking at new ways and new technologies in agriculture. That's critical. And then conservation. The conservation programs, compressing the programs into fewer numbers of programs, easier to participate. That's going to be important as we look at enhancing water quality.
And this is the first farm bill that will give mandatory insurance to the state's specialty crops. Farmers and those in agriculture weren't the only ones in attendance today. People from MSU and state politics were in the crowd as well. And as Joe Khalil reports for them, this event was not only of political importance, but it's a memory they say they'll always remember.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
Words nobody in attendance here at MSU will soon forget hearing. But what was it like to actually say those words?
It's sort of surreal. You never sort of dreamed that you'd ever get the chance to say something like that.
Ben LaCrosse is a Michigan cherry farmer chosen to introduce the president. He's worked closely with Senator Stabenow on the farm bill.
Well, this is a really neat opportunity to start the process and be able to participate in the final bill signing.
The moment was also special for Ben's son Keaton, who was a little starstruck meeting Mr. Obama.
First he said, "What was your name?" And I was like, "What?" And then he said it again, "What's your name?" And I said, "Keaton."
And I think as these people leave, what they're going to take with them is not necessarily what was said in the speech, but the fact that the president was here at all in East Lansing in their community for this historic event. You had to actually shake his hand?
I got to shake his hand. I did.
A simple gesture, MSU senior Tyler Clifford says he'll carry with him forever.
It was special. Like I felt it go through me.
Clifford says, like many in attendance, he went home happy and took a little piece of history with him. In East Lansing, Joe Khalil, 6 News.
Hello, Spartans! Go green!
Well, the president made sure to show his Spartan pride while on campus. And the last time the president visited MSU was back in 2008 when he was then Senator Obama. Well, today the president met with some of the MSU Big Stars head football coach Mark D'Antonio and basketball coach Tom Izzo. And he provided his own take on this year's Spartan basketball team.
I am also here to do some scouting on my brackets. I just talked to Coach Izzo. Spartans are looking pretty good. I know things were a little wild for a while, had some injuries. But the truth is that Coach Izzo, you know, he always paces so that you peak right at the tournament.
Okay, and all fun and games aside, there were plenty of people involved in making the president's trip a successful one here and possible in mid-Michigan. Lots of behind-the-scenes work to pull it all off. And as our Nick Perot explains, even though it was a lengthy process, it helped put the Capital Region International Airport on the map.
It's not your ordinary plane rolling in.
It's quite an undertaking.
Executive Director Robert Seelig says from the maintenance to police and fire. Quite the planning went into bringing in Air Force One and President Obama to mid-Michigan.
It started about Monday. Really, Monday it started with the first meetings. The advance team has got quite a checklist, and they've done this before.
Last president to land here at Capital Region was Clinton, and Seelig says every time they can help bring in Air Force One, the more press for mid-Michigan.
You know, it gives us a good exposure and lets everybody know that we really can land a 747.
Yeah, neat experience.
Cole Noel Williams was around with Clinton's arrival and says it's a lot of work, but a collaborative effort to get the job done.
You know, a lot of planning and everyone coming together, all the airport employees as well as the police and fire departments from around the area that stepped up to do what they needed to do.
There's a cost to it all, but again, I think everybody believes it's worth it.
Worth it for the employees, volunteers, and airport to make the president's trip to Lansing a smooth one and leaving everyone flying high. In Lansing, Nick Perot, 6 News.
All right, well, people around mid-Michigan had to be a little patient today with some traffic tie-ups because of the president's visit. That was especially true along US 127 as his motorcade made its way to and from the airport. Fortunately, it didn't last too long. It only happened twice, when the president came into town and then again when he left to go back to the airport. And be sure to stay with 6 News. We've got much more on the president's visit on 6 News at 6 and 11. It's the only 11 o'clock news you're going to see.
Storm Tracker 6. Weather first. Made possible by your independent auto owners insurance agents, the no problem people.
Scouting its brackets, that's what he was doing. I knew there was a reason he was really here. Let's talk about the weather, which does show some signs of warming up a little bit in the long term. For now, though, we'll start with weather headlines. We've got some weekend snowfall on the way, light snow out there. Chilly weather will continue, and I put rain and question marks on there because as the slightly warmer air moves in next week, it may be just warm enough that we mix in with some rain showers. We're talking later next week. Don't think we're going to see warm temperatures over the weekend. The clearing line now pushing in from the southwest. There have been a couple hit-and-miss flurries out there, but really not a lot of snowfall today. As we zoom out, one system we're keeping an eye on to our southwest, providing some rain and snow across Texas today. But this system will stay just to our south and east overnight tonight. Our next weathermaker comes in from the northwest, and as I said, it's not a terribly strong system. Temperature 13 outside right now in Lansing, 8 in St. John's, 12 in Mason, 13 in Owasso, 11 in Howell. Hastings is sitting at 5 degrees. As we look at wind chills running around, well, anywhere from 4 degrees below zero Lansing, 11 below in St. John's, 13 degrees below in Adrian. Very cold again this afternoon. As we broaden the view, 13 the temperature Mount Pleasant, 16 in Alma Flint at 13, Detroit around 10 degrees or so to the mid-teens this evening in Grand Rapids. Our camera views from our Skyview network looking over towards the airport where Air Force One was earlier. Now just a breezy afternoon, 13 degrees, winds around 17. There's those wind chills running below zero. Capital Cam temperatures very cold as well, 13 degrees. Same thing on the winds and wind chill. Final stop on the Jackson Cam. Sun starting to head down. You see plenty of sunshine out there, which does translate into cold temperatures tonight. 10 degrees is the current reading and winds around 11 miles per hour. Precision cast through the overnight, mostly clear skies into tomorrow morning. Same thing, although clouds will be increasing as we head through the day. By the late afternoon, light snow begins to spread into the region. As I said, this system is weak, doesn't have a lot of moisture. It's not going to provide a lot of snowfall. Good news if you don't want to do any shoveling. As we take precision cast a little further in time, it quickly moves out Sunday morning. We'll see improving conditions overall, but if your plans take you south, traveling on Sunday, several inches of snow across Indiana into Ohio. As we move into Sunday night and Monday, we'll see that system continue to slide on towards the east, and we'll get a nice break several days in a row of dry weather until things start to warm up, and we'll get that rain-snow mix potentially in the area later next week. Snowfall accumulations, as I said, the system just doesn't have a lot going for it in terms of snow production, but I think we could see around an inch in spots. We thought maybe some areas could see 2. It looks like mainly south of Jackson for that, so 1 to 2 south of Jackson. Everyone else around an inch of accumulation late tomorrow evening. Forecast then for tonight. Look for mostly cloudy skies, becoming mostly clear late. Low temperature down to 2 degrees tonight. 2 at 7 o'clock in the morning. Temperature at noon is 14 and a high tomorrow of 18. Not all that warm, but it is warmer than it was today, the 6th day. Warmer yet on Saturday, highs in the low 20s. Then it's back in the teens on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, 27. Oh, Jane, look at that.
Look at that.
Above freezing next Thursday in a rain-snow mix. Track that heat wave that's on the way with our free Storm Checker 6 weather app, free of charge, to let you know when the temperatures are climbing above freezing, and we're all looking forward to some of that, little less shoveling to do.
Well, after those negative numbers, 34 looks great.
That means it's going to feel really warm.
It probably will.
It will.
David, thanks. Coming up right here on 6 News at 5, we're going to tell you who's looking for answers in the wake of a recent prison escape in mid-Michigan. And later, Evan Pitzenall takes us to the beginning of a special month-long celebration of African American history. That's in this week's Tell Me Something Good. Stay tuned for that and much more right here on 6 News at 5. Well, Governor Rick Snyder announced today that the state attorney general's office will lead an investigation into the recent escape of a prisoner from the Ionia Correctional Facility. The inmate who escaped, Michael David Elliott, was serving a life sentence for multiple murders and somehow broke out from prison on February 2nd. Elliott was caught the next day by Indiana authorities. He faces criminal charges in both Indiana and Michigan, all related to that escape. Well, the latest unemployment and employment numbers are much lower than the economists first expected, but it's not all bad news, as you hear in this report, because one major industry is adding jobs.
And what are you doing in this room?
This is going to become a family room.
Frank Branca says business is finally starting to pick up at his construction company in New York's Westchester County.
I see a strong push that things are going to start growing over time.
So much so that he's planning to hire more workers.
Right now we have 4 carpentry crews working 4 separate projects. We're looking to go to 5 crews.
It seems other construction companies are also doing well. Last month, the industry added 48,000 new jobs, one of the few bright spots in an otherwise disappointing jobs report. The economy added only 113,000 jobs in January, much less than the 170,000 some analysts expected. Still, the unemployment rate fell to a more than 5-year low of 6.6%. Wall Street trader Ben Willis believes even with the hiring slowdown, things are headed in the right direction.
The trend is telling you things are improving. Nowhere near as fast as anybody would like, but the fact of the matter is undeniable, the trend is improving.
Branca hopes that's true so he can continue to build his business. Alexis Christoforous, CBS News, Goldens Bridge, New York.
Well, still ahead on 6 News, after a month-long celebration of an African-American history getting underway at the Library of Michigan, we're going to tell you about this, and Evan Pitzenall has all the details in Tell Me Something Good. Stay tuned.
Now, It's time for Tell Me Something Good, the good news stories on 6 News.
February is African American History Month, proudly celebrated by people all across mid-Michigan and the country. And as Evan Pincenalt shows us in tonight's Tell Me Something Good, the Library of Michigan plans to celebrate this month in some big and important ways.
Not only write with the word.
MSU professor David Kirkland captivated his audience with a lecture and lesson about the literacy of young black men. His presentation was the first in a 4-week celebration of African American History Month at the Library of Michigan in downtown Lansing.
That the experience of literacy learning for young black men is too often divorced from who they are, and too often they're told to leave themselves at the door.
But not here. In February, the library's doors will be open for students, teachers, patrons, and families, all eager to learn more about the black men and women who shape Michigan communities through their craft, creativity, and culture.
Libraries today are not a place where the librarian is constantly shushing people. Libraries are vibrant, active places, and there's events.
Professor Kirkland kicked off the African American History Month celebration here at the library, but in the coming weeks, you'll also hear from an Underground Railroad historian, an award-winning jazz group, and see a cultural culinary exhibition.
There are all kinds of things that people can learn. I mean, Carol Mull's going to be there talking about the Underground Railroad, and Michigan was a destination, that last stop before you got to Canada. We're talking about African American cookbooks, and we have a jazz trio coming in to play music, so there's something there for everyone.
And everyone is invited free of charge to learn about race, culture, and history, and perhaps even make some of their own.
If those two worlds, instead of colliding, could coalesce.
Glad to bring together some good news for you. I'm Evan Pincenalt.
Evan, thank you. And for more information on the upcoming African American History Month events going on at the Library of Michigan in downtown Lansing, visit our website. Just click on that Scene on 6 icon. We've got David Young standing by with a peek into your forecast this weekend and beyond. Stay tuned for that.
Oh boy, here we go. The 6-day forecast, Jane. But there are changes in this 6-day forecast. Teens tomorrow, some light snow late Saturday, early Sunday, an inch or so of accumulation. Teens Monday and Tuesday, but here's where we get excited. 27 on Wednesday and 34 degrees next Thursday with a chance of a rain-snow mix. There are some signs that there may be even warmer weather on the way. That's all I'm going to say at this point. But we may be heading out of the Arctic air soon.
Okay, well, that's good news, I guess. And you know what else is good news? The Mid-Michigan Women's Expo is back at the Lansing Center for the 14th year. The 3-day event there gives area women the opportunity to hear national speakers, attend seminars, and do-it-yourself presentations. Also get some free health screenings done. There also will be food, shopping, and everything from sampling gourmet food and wine to cars, clothes, and jewelry. And this expo runs through Sunday. And of course, WLNS TV6, a proud sponsor of the Women's Expo, and everybody's talking.
Everybody's talking. It's like spring break.
It is spring break for women, so enjoy it when the weather's this cold. Thanks for tuning in.
We're always on, always free at WLNS.com.
Have a good night.